Every old municipal hospital has its quirks: elevators that skip floors, corridors that lead nowhere, and maps that don't quite match reality. But in the St. Jude Medical Complex, built in 1932, the anomaly wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate erasure. Architects intentionally omitted the entire East Wing from the public blueprints. If you walk down the basement maintenance halls today, you will find a massive, triple-locked steel door hidden behind rows of obsolete industrial boilers. Thick layers of dust and decades of rust seal it tight. A faded, hand-painted wooden sign hangs on the handle, simply reading, "Section closed by order of the board. November 14th, 1974. No reasons were ever archived."
The mystery reignited when a night shift security guard named Mark went missing. His patrol log ended abruptly at 2:15 a.m. with a single scrawled sentence. "Hearing rhythmic thumping behind the boiler room wall. Sounds like heavy medical machinery. Mark never checked back in." His flashlight and keys were found lying on the damp concrete floor right in front of the sealed steel door.
Determined to find him, a specialized search party cut through the heavy locks using industrial tools. As the heavy steel door creaked open, for the first time in over 50 years, a wave of stagnant, freezing air rushed out. It carried the overwhelming stench of old formaldehyde and burnt copper. Inside lay a long, pitch-black corridor untouched by time. Moving inside, the most striking anomaly was the absolute silence. In a normal building, you hear the distant hum of pipes or the city outside. Here, the silence was heavy, almost physical, pressing against the explorer's ears like deep ocean pressure. Every footstep on the cracked linoleum felt muffled, swallowed instantly by the dark, peeling walls. Halfway down the corridor, they found room 313. Unlike the other stripped, empty rooms, this ward was perfectly preserved. A vintage iron bed frame stood in the center, surrounded by obsolete glass IV drips and rusted monitoring screens. On the bedside table lay an open patient file, dated November 1974. The name of the patient was carefully blacked out with thick marker. Reading through the log, the notes detailed a forbidden medical experiment known only as Project Nexus. Doctors weren't trying to cure the patients here. They were testing the limits of human consciousness during clinical death. They used experimental neurotoxins to keep the patients' minds active for hours after their hearts stopped beating. Suddenly, a high-pitched metallic screech echoed through the wing. The long-dead monitoring screens in room 313 flickered to life, displaying erratic, jagged heart lines despite being unplugged. In the dusty glass window of the intensive care unit, the reflection of the search party didn't match. Their reflections stood frozen, staring back at them with hollow, black eyes. The silence was broken. From the darkness of the ceiling vents and the shadows beneath the iron beds, pale, emaciated figures began to crawl. Their limbs were twisted, bound in decaying hospital gowns, their bodies radiating an unbearable icy chill. These were the patients of Project Nexus. Their bodies were dead, but their minds had been trapped in a state of eternal, screaming torment. Panicking, the search party sprinted back toward the exit, but the wing was changing. The hallway stretched into infinity. No matter how fast they ran, they kept passing rooms 313 over and over again. The flickering ceiling lights turned blood red, blinking in sync with the erratic flatlining sounds echoing from the ancient monitors. At the end of the looping corridor, they stumbled upon Mark. He was sitting on the floor, his back against the wall, staring blankly into the dark. But he was no longer human. His skin was ash grey, his eyes were wide and milky white, and he was mindlessly scratching the Project Nexus symbol into his own flesh, whispering, "The treatment never ends." Only one member of the search party escaped that night, collapsing through the steel doors before they slammed shut on their own. The East Wing was immediately backfilled with hundreds of tons of solid concrete. But even today, staff on the other side of the wall claim that if you listen closely past midnight, you can still hear a faint, rhythmic thumping